So it's been about a month since I've been using the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. There's actually a lot to like and some things that I wish could have been different. Now, just as a context, I'm going from the Vivo X200 Pro as well as the iPhone 16 Pro Max. So if I compare the S25 Ultra against those two phones, that's because that's what I've been using prior to this phone. So without rambling on too much, let's talk about the S25 Ultra specs real quick. So the biggest change here is the SoC, which is the Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy, which is just an absolute beast of a processor. It's slightly overclocked out of the box compared to other 8 Elite phones that I've been testing, but you're also getting 12 gigs of RAM, and you can also spec this to have up to 1 terabyte of storage, which is really nice if you're a big DeX user and you use this phone as your all-in-one device. Now, battery capacity didn't change at all from last year, so it's still a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, which I am bummed that we didn't get a bigger battery this year. But I mean, I didn't really have any issues last year with battery life. But in terms of charging though, this phone can charge up to 45 watts wired and up to 25 watts via Qi 2, which is slightly better than last year's S24 Ultra, and we'll talk a little bit more about charging later. Now up front is this beautiful 6.9 inch WQHD Plus AMOLED display that just looks really good to look at. It looks sleeker, more modern with thinner bezels all around, and the display is still flat, so screen protectors are easier to install, and I'm glad that they were able to keep what I think is the best anti-reflective coating on a smartphone. I think when it comes to displays, especially on a smartphone, nothing can really beat Samsung in this category. It's still one of the best looking displays. It's sharp, vivid, and rather accurate out of the box, and it gets plenty bright, up to 2600 nits peak. And I know that there are phones that can do 3000 or even 4500 nits peak, but let's be real, peak brightness isn't really everything. Now, another thing that's new here on the S25 Ultra is obviously its new design form factor. The S25 Ultra joins the S25 and S25 Plus with more flat looking side rails. The corners compared to last year's S24 Ultra is more rounded off, so this feels way better in hand. And I don't know if it's just me, but it feels like that the S25 Ultra feels a little bit lighter and feels better to hold one-handed. Now, it's probably the redesign that's throwing me off here, but on the back, we still have the same camera layout as last year's with a quad camera setup with this thick black ring, which makes the phone rock back and forth even more if it's on a flat surface. Now, from what I understand, the S25 Ultra is Qi 2 compatible, but there aren't any magnets on the phone physically. So if you want to use MagSafe accessories or Qi 2 chargers properly, then look into channel sponsor Pitaka and this pin button case, which unlocks 3 customizable buttons for the S25 Ultra. And this is actually the only case that I know that can do this. So what's awesome about this case is not only will this protect your phone and fix the rocking back and forth issue that I talked about with the camera bump, but this gives you 3 mappable buttons on the left side of the device. And you don't even have to install a third-party app. So what I did here was map the top button to open up Google Maps because I use it to navigate to new coffee shops while I'm out on vacation. The middle button is to open up the camera app, but in video mode. That way I can film right away. And the third button is set up to open up Instagram, which is actually where I spend most of my time doom scrolling since I can't install TikTok on here anymore. But yeah, if you want to get this awesome case made out of durable aramid fiber, I'll be sure to leave a link in the description below, and huge shout out to Pitaka for sponsoring a portion of this video. Now, when it comes to performance and day-to-day usage, the new Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy is pretty much what we would expect in 2025. It's really powerful, it's very efficient, and I was able to use this phone day in and day out without having it break a sweat. Now, I couldn't find a single app that can slow down the phone, so it didn't really disappoint here in the performance department. Whether I was just scrolling on Instagram or Threads, or maybe I'm playing Genshin Impact or some other game, which runs at 60 frames per second easily. And the best part is it does it all without it getting hot or have it throttle after an hour of gaming. So all in all, I can't really complain about gaming on this phone. Now, gaming and day-to-day computing isn't the only thing that's important here for the S25 Ultra. This year is all about ramping up AI for them, and I made a separate video on its best features, including the new AI features like Now Brief and Now Bar, as well as the Gemini AI agent. So if you want to learn more about it, I'll leave a link down below so you can watch that video. But anyways, when it comes to battery life, I'm gonna put you guys on a little hack or tip here. And I said the same thing about the S24 Ultra from last year. But if you go into your settings and search for performance profile, you can actually choose light instead of standard. And basically what this will do is sacrifice about 10 to 15% of your phone's performance, but in return give you longer battery life. And from what I can tell, this actually extends my battery a little bit further, which I'll take because, if I can get a solid day and a half or even 2 days on this phone, this is killer. And if you haven't switched over to the QHD Plus resolution and you're still rocking Full HD Plus, you can get even better battery life out of this phone. But then again, how I use my phone is gonna be a lot different than how you use your phone. For me, I'll end the day at around 11:30 p.m. and have about 35 to 40% left. So I call that a win in the battery department. And now when it comes to software, One UI 7 is actually not that terrible after using FunTouch OS from Vivo. This really feels so much better. Animations are smoother, opening apps are pretty much instant, but what I did notice here and what I changed right away is actually how notifications and quick panels are handled. So typically on an Android phone, I'm so used to having notifications and the quick settings all in one page. But when you first set up this phone, you actually have to swipe down on the left side of the screen to see your notifications, and then swipe on the upper right-hand side for your quick settings. Thankfully, One UI 7 makes it easy to change it back to how it was, and this made the experience so much better. Besides that though, I'm actually glad that vertical scrolling is a thing here now in the app drawer. The now bar in the lock screen is actually a thing I really like since I follow a ton of NBA games, and I can get updates on the lock screen and even on the status bar, so that's really cool. But everything else though feels relatively the same, so if you like how Samsung does software, I think you'll really like how they did One UI 7 here. All right, now before we talk about the cameras, I'm sure you guys want to know more about the S Pen, and yeah, Bluetooth functionality is actually no longer a thing here, and I'm not sure if Samsung plans to sell an optional S Pen that fits the S25 Ultra with Bluetooth, but if you don't really use the S Pen very much and it's Bluetooth functions, then I feel like you'll be all right with this standard S Pen. Okay, so the S25 Ultra on paper may seem like a lackluster upgrade compared to the S24 Ultra. And to be quite honest, yeah, you're probably right. The only thing that really changed here in the camera front is the ultra wide camera, which is now 50 megapixels versus 12 megapixels, but the sensor did get a tiny bit smaller. But in all honesty, I genuinely could not tell that it got smaller from the photos and videos that I've shot. But I kind of wish that they also gave the 3x zoom lens a bump in resolution too. It's kind of weird having 50 megapixels or higher on other lenses, but the 3x, which I think is the best focal length, is stuck with 10 megapixels. But anyways, in terms of its overall photo quality, it's very similar to the S24 Ultra from last year, but with slightly better colors that are more true to life and less post-process. I do think that the ultra-wide macro photos are the highlight this year, but to be honest, it's just a slightly better photo processing here, which is all thanks to the new ISP from the Snapdragon 8 Elite chip. Now there are these new filter options that kind of mimics the iPhone's photographic styles, which allows you to tune the color temperature, the contrast, the saturation, but also add film grain, which isn't something that you can do on the iPhone. So that's kind of unique on the S25 Ultra. And I also like that you can download third-party filters, which actually integrates to the camera app. But also you can create your own filters based off of the photos from your gallery, which is kind of cool, but I'm not sure if this is something that I'll use often. Now, the big update here on the camera front though, at least in my opinion, is the ability to shoot in log. HEVC 10-bit log video to be exact. And what's awesome is that 4K 60 log video is available for all lenses, but also 8K 30 is also available in log for the ultra wide and main wide camera. Now, if you guys want, I'll make a separate video showing off more log videos, when it's graded and how I'm grading the footage, and let me know in the comments down below if you guys want that video. But here's a few samples of how log video looks from the S25 Ultra and how it looks when I color grade them. And yeah, basically it's an S24 Ultra that feels refined. And what I think this is what the S24 Ultra should have been in the first place. If you have last year's Ultra, don't even bother upgrading unless you really want to shoot log videos or shoot high-res macro photos. But if you're coming from, an S21 Ultra or even the S22 Ultra, then the S25 Ultra is most definitely worth it. Performance is top-notch. It's great for gaming, for multitasking. The cameras are really versatile, but I wouldn't say it's the best in the market. I think Samsung just really needs to step it up and really try to compete with the likes of Xiaomi, Oppo, and Vivo and start putting bigger sensors on their flagship phones. Because if I'm being honest, as much as I love using this S25 Ultra, I'm probably gonna go back to the Vivo X200 Pro to be my main camera on the go. It just shoots way better photos and can also shoot log videos like the S25 Ultra. So yeah, the S25 Ultra is easily the fastest, the most versatile smartphone, and it's readily available around the globe compared to the Vivo X200 Pro. Whether or not you're a fan of Samsung phones, I think they're still a top contender, and if you decide to pick this phone up, I really don't think that you're gonna be disappointed.